Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Mahā-Bhagavat Śrīla Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीश्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणीति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिषे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सार्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितराङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दं। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Dandavat pranams Ganga Didi, Indira Mataji, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantra Murthy Mataji, and I'll check in a little later. And Rup Manjari Didi, and Raseshwari Mataji will be coming. And Chandrasekhar, Dandavat pranams Chandrasekhar. So there isn't actually that much to recap because we completed the whole Samudra Manthan Lila, and I'm not going to go over all of that. And then the day before Nityananda Trayodashi, we went through a description of the future Manus. So we've already gone through the first six Manvantars, and then we went through the 7th, 8th, and we went up to the 14th. I think these were 13 and 14 were the two shortest chapters I've ever come across in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We completed 2 chapters and we finished early. And then we read about chapter 14, the system of universal management. Having heard about the 6 types of main personalities who manage all the universal affairs and all the 14 Manvantars in the current day of Lord Brahma, Parīkṣit Maharaj asks Sukadeva Goswami about the specific duties of these personalities. And so, what are the duties of the Manus and others who the others who appoint and so we read the specific duties of the 6 types of persons in a Manvantar. There's Manu, who reestablishes the 4 parts of Dharma on the earth. That is like the occupational duties for all the living entities. And then the Devas, the demigods, who share the results of the sacrifices. And then the sons of Manu, who discharge the orders of the Lord and enjoy the results of sacrifices. And then the Sura Ishwar, who is Indra, who's the lord of the demigods. He enjoys the opulences of the 3 worlds and maintains all the living entities by pouring rains. Then there's the 7 chief sages. At the end of every Chatur Yuga, these chief sages reestablish Sanatan Dharma, which are usually lost with time. And then there's the Angsha Avatar, the Manvantar incarnation, who appoints the other 5 types of personalities. After describing how the Lord acts through the Manus and others, Shukadeva Goswami explains that the work of universal management is not limited to these 6 types of persons. In the next 2 verses, he mentions the Lord's other expansions in every yuga, such as Siddhas and Yogeshas. So the Lord's other expansions for the maintenance of the Manvantars is the Lord's form as the Siddhas. An example of that is Sanak, and his purpose is to preach transcendental knowledge. And then the Lord's form as Rishis. An example is Yajnavalkya, who teaches the way of karma. And then the Yogis, an example is Dattatreya, who teaches the system of mystic yoga. And the Lord's form as Prajapati. An example is Marichi, to create progeny. And the Lord's form as kings. An example is Manu's sons, and their duties to kill the thieves and rogues. That's all kings need to do. They just need to kill thieves and rogues. Then there's the Lord's form as time, whose time's purpose is to annihilate everything. And then all the different qualities of material existence are the Lord's qualities only. Yeah. People in general are bewildered by the Lord's Maya. Although they try to find the absolute truth by research and speculation, they cannot see him. In one kalpa, there are many vikalpas, many changes, as I have described to you earlier. There are 14 manvantars in one kalpa. All right, so now we're beginning. Bali Mahārāja conquers the heavenly planets. This is a very short chapter. So we'll read the full chapter today. Hearing about Bali Mahāraja's charity to Lord Vishnu in chapter 13, Parīkṣit Maharaj asks Shukadeva Goswami about the details. So let me check back. Dandavat pranam to say Shri Mataji and Gargarajji, Hare Krishna. Okay. Chapter 15, Bali Maharaj conquers the heavenly planets. This chapter describes how Bali, after performing the Vishvajit Yagya, received the benediction of a chariot and various kinds of paraphernalia for war, with which he attacked the king of heaven. All the demigods, being afraid of him, left the heavenly planets and went away, following the instructions of their guru. Mahārāja Parīkṣit wanted to understand how Lord Vamandev, on the plea of taking 3 paces of land from Bali Mahārāja, took everything away from him and arrested him. Shukadeva Goswami responded to this inquiry with the following explanation. In the fight between the demons and the demigods, as described in the 11th chapter of this canto, Bali was defeated, and he died in the fight, but by the grace of Shukracharya he regained his life. Thus he engaged himself in the service of Shukracharya, spiritual master. The descendants of Bhrigu, being pleased with him, engaged him in the Vishvajit Yagya. When this yagya was performed, from the fire of yagya came a chariot, horses, a flag, a bow, armor, and 2 quivers of arrows. Mahārāja Prahlāda, Bali Mahārāja's grandfather, gave Bali an eternal garland of flowers. Wow, an eternal garland. And Shukracharya gave him a conch shell. Bali Mahārāja, after offering obeisances to Prahlāda, the brāhmaṇas and his spiritual master, Shukracharya, equipped himself to fight with Indra and went to Indra-puri with his soldiers. Blowing his conch shell, he attacked the outskirts of Indra's kingdom. When Indra saw Bali Mahārāja's prowess, he went to his own spiritual master, Brihaspati, told him about Bali's strength, and inquired about his duty. Brihaspati informed the demigods that because Bali had been endowed with extraordinary power by the brāhmaṇas, the demigods could not fight with him. Their only hope was to gain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, there was no alternative. Under the circumstances, Brihaspati advised the demigods to leave the heavenly planets and keep themselves somewhere invisible. The demigods followed his orders, and Bali Mahārāja, along with his associates, gains the entire kingdom of Indra. The descendants of Bhrigu Mahārāja, being very affectionate to their disciple Bali Mahārāja, engaged him in performing 100 Ashvamedha Yagyas. In this way, Bali enjoyed the opulences of the heavenly planets. One second. Okay. Shirajovacha Bale padatrayam bhume kasmad darir ayachata bhuteshvara kripanaval labdartopi babandhatam etad veditum ichamo mahatkotu halam hina yachneshvarasya purnasya bandhanam chapyanagasa. Mahārāja Parīkṣit inquired. Mahārāja Parīkṣit inquired, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything. Why did he beg 3 paces of land from Bali Mahārāja like a poor man? And when he got the gift for which he had begged, why did he nonetheless arrest Bali Mahārāja? I am very much anxious to know the mystery of these contradictions. Shri Shuka Uvacha Parajita Shir Asubhishchahapito Hindrena Rajan Bhrigubhi Sajivita Sarvatmanatan Abhajar Bhrigun Bali Shishyo Mahatmarta Nivedanena. Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, when Bali Mahārāja lost all his opulence and died in the fight, Shukracharya, a descendant of Bhrigu Muni, brought him back to life. Because of this, the great soul Bali Mahārāja became a disciple of Shukracharya and began to serve him with great faith, offering everything he had. Tang brāhmana brigava priyamana ayajayan vishvajita trinakam jigishamanam vidinabhishitya mahabhishekena mahanubhavaha. The Brahmin descendants of Bhrigu Muni were very pleased with Bali Mahārāja, who desired to conquer the kingdom of Indra. Therefore, after purifying him and properly bathing him according to regulative principles, they engaged him in performing the yajna known as Vishvajit. Tato ratha kanchana pattanadho hayaschharyashva turanga varnaha Dvajaschsimhena virajamano hutashanad asa havirbhura ishtat. When ghee was offered in the fire of sacrifice, there appeared from the fire a celestial chariot covered with gold and silk. There also appeared yellow horses like those of Indra, and a flag marked with a lion. Dhanushcha devyam puratopanadham tunab arikto kavachang cha devyam pitamahastasya dadochamalam amlana pushpam jalajam chashukraha. A gilded bow, 2 quivers of infallible arrows, and celestial armor also appeared. Bali Mahārāja's grandfather Prahlāda Mahārāja offered Bali a garland of flowers that would never fade, and Shukracharya gave him a conch shell. Evam saviprarjita yodanartas taikalpita swastyayano tapavipran pradakshini kritya krita pranama prahradam amantrya namaschakara. When Mahārāja Bali had thus performed the special ritualistic ceremony advised by the brāhmaṇas and had received, by their grace, the equipment for fighting, he circumambulated the brāhmaṇas and offered them obeisances. He also saluted Prahlāda Mahārāja and offered obeisances to him. Prahlāda Mahārāja ki jai. Ataruhya ratang devyam brigudatang maharataha susragdharotad sannahya dhanvi kadgi driteshudhi himangadala sarbahu spuran makara kundala raja ratamarudho dishnyasta ivahavyavat. Then, after getting on the chariot given by Shukracharya, Bali Mahārāja, decorated with a nice garland, put protective armor on his body, equipped himself with a bow, and took up a sword and a quiver of arrows. When he sat down on the seat of the chariot, his arms decorated with golden bangles and his ears with sapphire earrings, he shone like a worshipable fire. Tulaishvara bala shribhi swayutar daitayutapai pibadbhir ivakang drigbhir daharbhi paridhing iva vrito vikarshan mahating asuring dvajining vibhu yayav Indra-puring svridvam kampayan ivarodhasi. Kind of fun word to say. Sridvam. One second. Okay. When he assembled with his own soldiers and the demon chiefs, who were equal to him in strength, opulence, and beauty, they appeared as if they would swallow the sky and burn all directions with their vision. Wow, that's intense. After thus gathering the demoniac soldiers, Bali Mahārāja departed for the opulent capital of Indra. Indeed, he seemed to make the entire surface of the world tremble. That's pretty intense. The demons appeared as if they would swallow the sky and burn all directions with their vision. Ramyam upavanodhyanai Śrīmad-bhir nandanadibhi kujar vihangamithunar gayan matta madhuvratai pravala phalapushporu bharashankamara drumai. King Indra's city was full of pleasing orchards and gardens, such as the Nandan garden. Because of the weight of the flowers, leaves, and fruit, the branches of the eternally existing trees were bending down. The gardens were visited by pairs of chirping birds and singing bees. The entire atmosphere was celestial. I like how it's pairs of birds. Yeah. And it's not just a flock of birds. It's like, no, like husband and wives all together. Hamsa sarasa chakrava karandava kula kula nalinyo yatakridanti pramada surasevika. Beautiful women, protected by the demigods, sported in the gardens, which had lotus ponds full of swans, cranes, chakravakas, and ducks. Let's just looking this up, sorry guys. A chakravaka is a ruby shell drake. What's a ruby shell drake? I've seen this enough times I've gone, there's a ruby shell drake. Wow, it's like an orange duck, orange brownish duck. I bet Rupa Manjari already knew that. She's the bird expert here. Hare Krishna Sharmaji. Okay. Sorry. Akasha Gangaya Devya Vrittam Parikya Bhutaya Prakaren Nagni Varnena Sartaleno Natenava. The city was surrounded by trenches full of Ganges water, known as Akash Ganga, and by a high wall, which was the color of fire. Upon this wall were parapets. What's a parapet? Parapets for fighting. It's a low protective wall along the edge of a roof, bridge, or balcony. Okay. Rukma, one second. What the heck? That's so weird. Okay. Rukma pata kapata ishta dvarai spatik gopurai jushtam vibhakta prapatam vishvakarma vinirmitam. The doors were made of solid gold plates, and the gates were of excellent marble. These were linked by various public roads. The entire city had been constructed by Vishvakarma. Sabha chatvararatyadhyam vimanarnyar budhair yutam shringatakher manimayar vajravedravehi. The city was full of courtyards, wide roads, assembly houses, and not less than 100 million airplanes. That's a lot of airplanes. The crossroads were made of pearl, and there were sitting places made of diamond and coral. Yatra nitya vayorupa shama vira javasa brajante rupavan naryo yarchibir eva Vanaya. Everlastingly beautiful and youthful women who were dressed with clean garments glittered in they glittered in the city like fires with flames. They all possessed the quality of Shyama. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. I think that's the longest we've ever gone without a purport of Srila Prabhupada. 17 verses. Okay, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a hint of the quality of the Shyama women. Shita kale bhaver ushna, ushma kale sushitala. Stano kanto yam tashyama kirtita. A woman whose body is very warm during the winter and cool during the summer, and who generally has very firm breasts, is called Shama. That's very specific. Surastri Keshvi Prashta Navaso Gandhika Srajam Yatra Muram Upadaya Marga Avati Maruta. The breezes blowing in the streets of the city bore the fragrance of flowers falling from the hair of the women of the demigods. Hema Jalakshanir Gachar Dhumena Guru Gandhina Pandurena Pratichana Marge Yanti Surapriya. Apsaras passed on the streets, which were covered with the white, fragrant smoke of aguru incense emanating from the windows with golden filigree. Filigrees, ornamental work of fine wire formed into delicate tracery. Guess they really like incense. Muktavan vitanar manihema ketubhir nana pataka valabhibhir abritam shikhandi paravata bringanaditang vaimanika stri kalakita mangalan. The city was shaded by canopies decorated with pearls, and domes of the palaces had flags of pearl and gold. The city always resounded with the vibrations of peacocks, pigeons, and bees. And above the city flew airplanes full of beautiful women who constantly chanted auspicious songs that were very pleasing to the ear. Pigeons. I guess the pigeons in the heavenly planet probably had very beautiful voices, and they probably had a different language. Because pigeons here just kind of go, right? Paravata is pigeons. Paravata. Okay. Mridanga. That's something, whenever there's mridanga mentioned in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, I wonder if it was like a different kind of mridanga, or if it was... Huh. Interesting. Mridanga Shankana. Sorry. Mridanga Shanka. No, wait, what's the meter for this? Mridanga Shankanaka Dundu Viswanai Satalavina Marujeshta Venuvi. Sorry. Nrityai Savadar Upadeva Gitakar Manoramang Swaprabhayajita Prabham. The city was filled with the sounds of mridangas, conch shells, kettle drums, flutes, and well-tuned stringed instruments, all playing in concert. There was constant dancing, and all the Gandharvas sang. The combined beauty of Indra-puri defeated beauty personified. Wow. Yang navrajanta dharmishta kalabhuta druhashataha manina kamino lubdha ebhirhina vrajantiyat. No one was sinful, envious, violent toward other living entities, cunning, falsely proud, lusty, or greedy. None of those people nobody who was sinful, envious, all those things, could enter that city. The people who lived there were all devoid of these faults. Tang devadhanim savarutini patir bahi samantar rurude pritanyaya acharya dattam jalajam mahasvanam tadmo prayunjan bhayamindra yoshitam. Bali Mahārāja, who was the commander of the numberless soldiers, gathered his soldiers outside of this abode of Indra and attacked it from all directions. He sounded the conch shell given him by his spiritual master, Shukracharya, thus creating a fearful situation for the women protected by Indra. Magavangstam abhipreta bahle paramam udyamam sarvadeva gunopeto gurum etar uvachaha. Seeing Bali Mahārāja's indefatigable endeavor and understanding his motive, King Indra, along with the other demigods, approached his spiritual master Brihaspati and spoke as follows. Bhagavan udyamo bhuyan balerna purvavairina avishayam imang manye kenasit tejasorjitaha. My lord, our enemy Bali Mahārāja now has new enthusiasm, and he has obtained such astonishing power that we think that perhaps we cannot resist his prowess. Nainam kashit kuto vapi prativyodhum adhishvara piban eva mukenedam likan evam disho dasha dahan eva disho drigbi samvartagnir ivotita. No one anywhere can counteract this military arrangement of Bali's. It now appears that Bali is trying to drink up the entire universe with his mouth, lick up the 10 directions with his tongue, and raise fire in every direction with his eyes. Indeed, he has arisen like the annihilating fire known as Samvartak. Bruhi karanametasya durdarshatvatsamaripo ojasoho balang tejo yata etat samudhyama. Kindly inform me, what is the cause for Bali Mahārāja's strength, endeavor, influence, and victory? How has he become so enthusiastic? Shri Guru Ruvacha Janami Magavan Chatror Unnater Asya Karanam Shishyayo Pabritam Tejo Brigubhir Brahmavadibihi. Oh, just by the way, this might be interesting for you guys. This N with a tilde on top of it, this nya, is took 5 steps to get to that. Either 4 or 5 steps. Sorry, 1 second. Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, said, O Indra, I know the cause for your enemies becoming so powerful. The Brahman descendants of Bhrigu Muni, being pleased by Bali Mahārāja, their disciple, endowed him with such extraordinary power. Purport. Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, informed Indra, ordinarily, Bali and his forces could not achieve such strength, but it appears that the Brahman descendants of Bhrigu Muni, being pleased with Bali Mahārāja, endowed them with this spiritual power. In other words, Brihaspati informed Indra that Bali Mahārāja's prowess was not his own, but that of his exalted guru Shukracharya. We sing in our daily prayers, Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. By the endeavor of the spiritual master, one can get extraordinary power, especially in spiritual advancement. The blessings of the spiritual master are more powerful than one's personal endeavor for such advancement. Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Guru Mukha Parma Vakya Chitete koriya aikya ar na kori ho mane asha. Especially for spiritual advancement, one should carry out the bona fide order of the spiritual master. By the parampara system, one can thus be endowed with the original spiritual power coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. Wow, I think this is the first time I've ever seen one text be 2 verses. That's so strange. Okay? I mean, it says text 29 and it's 8 lines. Yeah, I mean, I see 6 all the time, but never 8. Usually just make it 2 verses. Ojasvinam balim jetum na samartosti kashchana bhavar vidho bhavan vapi varjayitveshwaram harim vijeshyati nakopyenam brahmateja sameditam nasya shakta purastatum kritantasya yata jana. Neither you nor your men can conquer the most powerful Bali. Indeed, no one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead can conquer him, for he is now equipped with the supreme spiritual power, Brahma Tejas. And no one can stand before Yamaraj. No one can, as no one can stand before Yamaraj, no one now can stand before Bali Mahārāja. Sorry. Tasman nilayan utsrijya yuyang sarve trivishtapam yatta kalam pratikshanto yatta shatrur viparyaya. Therefore, waiting until the situation of your enemies is reversed, you should all leave this heavenly planet and go elsewhere where you will not be seen. Your only option is to hide. Esha vipro balo darka sampratyurjita vikrama tesham eva pamanena sanubandho vinangshati. Bali Mahārāja has now become extremely powerful because of the benedictions given him by the brāhmaṇas. But when he later insults the brāhmaṇas, he will be vanquished, along with his friends and assistants. When has Bali Mahārāja ever insulted the brāhmaṇas? Purport. Bali Mahārāja and Indra are enemies. Therefore, Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, would be vanquished when he insulted the brāhmaṇas by whose grace he had become so powerful. Bali Mahārāja's enemies were anxious to know when that opportunity would come. To pacify King Indra, Brihaspati assured him that the time would certainly come, for Brihaspati could see that in the future, Bali Mahārāja would defy the orders of Shukracharya in order to pacify Lord Vishnu, Vamandev. That's it. Of course, to advance in Krishna consciousness, one can take all risks. To please Vamandev, Bali Mahārāja risked defying the orders of his spiritual master Shukracharya. Because of this, he would lose all his property. Yet, because of devotional service to the Lord, he would get more than he expected, and in the future, in the 8th Manvantar, he would occupy the throne of Indra again. That's really neat. So devotees, when they disobey the orders of brāhmaṇas in service, they still get the result. They still get the, they still have to suffer it, but they also get like bhakti. So it's like, it works out. Evam sumantritartaste gurunartanudarshina hetvatri vishtapam jagmur girvana kamarupina. Shukadev Goswami continued, the demigods, being thus advised by Brihaspati for their benefit, immediately accepted his words. Assuming forms according to their desire, they left the heavenly kingdom and scattered, without being observed by the demons. Purport. The word Kama Rupina indicates that the demigods, the inhabitants of the heavenly planets, can assume any form they desire. Thus, it was not at all difficult for them to remain incognito before the eyes of the demons. That's the life of Brian, right?
Holy Grail.
Oh, Holy Grail, that's what I meant to say, yeah. Deveshvarta nilineshu valirvairochana purim devadhanim adhishtaya vasham ninye jagatrayam. When the demigods had disappeared, Bali Mahārāja, the son of Virochana, entered the heavenly kingdom, and from there he brought the three worlds under his control. Tam Vishvajayinam Shishyam Brigava Shishyavatsala Shatena Hayamedhanam Anuvratam Ayajayan. Brihaspati really saved a lot of bloodshed, huh? The Brahmin descendants of Bhrigu, being very pleased with their disciple, who had conquered the entire universe, now engaged him in performing 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices. Purport. We have seen in the dispute between Mahārāja Prithu and Indra that when Mahārāja Prithu wanted to perform 100 Ashwamedha yagyas, Indra wanted to impede him, for it is because of such sacrifices that Indra was made king of heaven. Here, the Brahmin descendants of Bhrigu decided that although Bali was situated on the throne of Indra, he would not be able to stay there unless he performed such sacrifices. They advised Mahārāja Bali to perform at least as many Ashwamedha yagyas as Indra. The word Ayajan indicates that all the Brahmins induced Bali Mahārāja to perform such sacrifices. Oh. One thing, I have a question here. The yagyas, so all the demigods fled, but aren't the demigods the one who get the results of the yagya, they enjoy the results of the sacrifice? I guess it just all went to Narayan and maybe Shiva and some people who didn't have to flee.
What about when Indra does the yagya?
Does Indra actually do the yagya? Or he does the yagya and becomes Indra though? I don't know. Tatastar anubhavena bhuvanatraya vishrutam kirtam dikshu vitanvana sarira udurad iva. 1 second. When Mahārāja Bali performed these sacrifices, he gained a great reputation in all directions, throughout the three worlds. Thus he shone in his position like the brilliant moon in the sky. Bhuje chashriyam sfuridham, that same word, vijadevo palambhitam, kritta kritam ivatmanam, manyamano mahatmana. Because of the favor of the Brahmins, the great soul Bali Mahārāja, thinking himself very satisfied, became very opulent and prosperous and began to enjoy the kingdom. Purport. The Brahmins are called Dvija Deva, and Kshatriyas are generally called Naradeva. The word Deva actually refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahmins guide human society in becoming happy by satisfying Lord Vishnu, and according to their advice, the Kshatriyas, who are called Naradeva, keep law and order so that other people, namely the Vaishyas and Shudras, may properly follow regulative principles. In this way, people are gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 15th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Bali Mahārāja Conquers the Heavenly Planets. All right, and so tomorrow we will read about executing the Payovrata process of worship. Okay, so we're going to read how Aditi, she feels dejected. And so then Kashyapa Muni visits her ashram and he inquires why she feels so dejected. And then Aditi responds, "All is well, but the demons have taken away our opulence. Please show a way for my sons to regain their lost positions." And then Kashyapa advises Aditi to worship Lord Vishnu, and then Kashyapa Muni instructs Aditi in the Payovrata process. All right, we'll read all about that tomorrow. Oh, no, Rukmanjari, no. Chandrasekhar just showed me a little funny, GIF of of all the, what is it called? Holy Grail? No, what is it called? Anyways. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Need to be in heaven to get the results. Yeah, but it's just that's true. They might not be in heaven to get the results, but it's just strange that Bali Mahārāja, anyways, he makes them all flee from their place, but then he does fire sacrifices so that they get the results. But yeah, it probably goes to Brahma, and I mean Indra's on a lower level, so I bet all the people in the higher planets, they didn't have to run away. It was just on Indra's particular area. But all the siddhas and Brahma, all those higher people probably were fine. And I guess I wonder if they get any share of the sacrifice. Oh, I can't see this GIF, unfortunately. I'll check it out when after the video's over. All right. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Mahā-Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Mahā-Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Śrīla Hairas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki Jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Prema Shkrantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai. Shri Bali Mahārāja ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. And there's a lot fewer people now than when I started reading. I wonder if all my talking was annoying. I whenever I'm with Chandra, I talk a lot, and so I was getting distracted a lot. Sorry about that. Anyways, tomorrow I will be back in my place with hopefully with my own Wi-Fi. That's actually why I had to come here to Mayapur, because I needed to post. By the way, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, please check out The Gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on YouTube. And last night I came over here to Mayapur because I couldn't get my Wi-Fi to work. And so I had to come here over to Mayapur to use my friend Chandrasekhar's Wi-Fi. And it got late when I did all the posting, so I just ended up spending the night. But today, I'm going to try to get all the Wi-Fi stuff sorted so that I won't have problem tomorrow for our reading, like I did on Nityananda Trayodashi. All right, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow. What's that? Okay, so it might probably just go to the devas who can give power. Indra just gives rain and power. Yes. All right, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. I wonder, though, when Bali Mahārāja took control of Indra's seat, if he gave all his different associates the positions of all the demigods. Oh, and Haribol Champak Didi. Sorry, I missed you before when you came on. All right, Haribol, everybody. Okay, I will do that next time if I ever get in a conversation. Yeah. All right, Haribol, Dandavat.